I've never seen any chicken structures like this before.
That's because we invented them.
That's awesome. Hell yes.
So this is the plastic that I was talking about.
We good, Christian? So, I've definitely never seen a chicken structure like this, and you said you invented it. So what exactly, how did you come up with this? Because this is really cool.
Right. So, it started out with when we started the farm using, the Salatin shelter, which is kind of like that standard 10 by 12, which works great for smaller applications. It has drawbacks like a lot of them do, but we use those exclusively for 10 plus years. As they started aging out and falling apart, that's where you have the opportunity to try something different or reinvest. And there were things that we wanted to accomplish that kind of necessitated looking at a different type of shelter. We were tired of having to climb underneath them to get the birds out. They were having heat issues. It gets pretty hot here. We have heat mortalities. And 6 months out of the year, they're sitting on the edge of the field doing nothing because it's a seasonal production model. So that led to the idea of having a multi-species type of shelter that we could use during the spring, summer, early fall for our broilers and turkeys, but then we could use it for other things during the winter. So right now, all the pigs are in the woods. They don't need any shelter. They're fine. They got the shade, the mud, all that. But in the winter, they need something, especially if you're trying to farrow in the winter. So that kind of ruminated around for a while. And we had the idea of putting a carport on a skid frame. Now, we're not the first ones to come up with big buildings moving around on pasture with poultry in them, but every other one that I had seen, the design mindset was to make it as light as possible, to make it easy to move, and also to lower the cost. The problem was you get a pretty decent thunderstorm or a hurricane, they're up in the trees. They blow away real easy. So our mindset was we're going to make something that's really heavy so it doesn't blow away, but we can then split that cost over multiple enterprises because it's a year-round use structure, so it lowers the capitalization cost that each enterprise has to carry. So we don't have to have buildings just for the pigs in the winter or buildings just for the poultry in the summer. It's one building to rule them all. So that led to the development of this, which we call the MSS. It's a multi-species shelter system.
And then can you just actually explain like the structure of it? Because there's so much going on to where this had to be a lot of trial and error, I'd assume. Or
so we had two prototypes that are up in the front one. We actually call these squadrons. So we have Squad 1 and Squad 2. A little throwback to my Marine Corps days in aviation. So these are the Mark III versions that we standardized and built 6 of these last year. So it's a standard template for the skid, which we actually have a fabrication shop doing now. So they have CAD drawings for them. They make it. We bring the components here, bolt it together. And then the carport is just an off-the-shelf unit from a company called Arrow. And it's because they make a truss-style carport instead of the one that's just a bent piece of tube steel all the way over. We wanted something that had a lot more beef and rigidity to it because it is very much part of the structure of the building, holding everything together. We just get the frame from them. We don't even get the roofing panels now. These are just 28-foot roofing panels that we get from a building supply company. And then other things that we fabricated along the way. There's hog panels all the way around. And then there's this bird netting here, which is behind the plastic. This is a product called Bird Be Gone, or bird netting from a company called Bird Be Gone. And it is about 900-pound test. Like, you are not breaking that. Wow. I've seen hawks fly full speed into this in the middle of the day, just boop, tosses them back out. So that keeps a lot of your predators out. Because we've just come through the hot part of the summer, we're trying to figure out a good shade system for the ends of these units. We'll probably eventually go to some type of custom-made shade cloth, but for this year, we're big subscribers to the iterative design process of break it down into as small steps as possible, the smallest decision that you can make, and just make one step, test, rinse and repeat, and go on. So $12 of plastic on each one. We'll see if this works, which it has done pretty well, but next year, it's not gonna be plastic, it'll be something a little bit nicer looking.
How did you notice that it actually worked? Did you actually take like a physical temperature and be like, it actually cooled down, or did you notice behaviors of the birds?
Both. So the problem with the shelters, or the challenge is, as they're moving, you've got the sun going across the field. And so you can have it oriented to where the roof and the shade cloth on the side is shading them during the day. But as soon as you turn the pen at the end of the field, you could have days where that sun's coming right in and only 10% of the shelter is actually being shaded. So they're all crowding in the shade and they're acting hot. And then you can feel it when you go in that it's, hot. Putting this plastic up, if it was a 100-degree day, it would feel 10 degrees cooler in there just from the plastic bouncing most of the sunlight back. It does generate a bunch of heat right behind it. That plastic's pretty hot, but that's rolling up and then just coming out the roof line. Having that higher roof space was a real critical part to keeping the birds cooler that all of the shorter shelters are deficient on, because it keeps all that radiative heat from the sun like at the 18-inch level, right where the birds are. Our roof is 7 to 11 feet in the air, so anything that happens here is way up in the air, and the heat's going to roll out.
Yeah, and like you were just saying on focusing on one specific thing, just hearing you talk a lot on airflow, because I noticed that there's still some little area that you don't put the tarp in. I'm assuming that's to let the airflow out?
Yes. So we're, besides just having plastic here, using that iterative process, we're trying to figure other things out, like what's the optimum setting for this plastic, how high off the ground, how high up there. So when we put them up, we've got a little piece of pipe there in the end with that string tied on it, so we could pull it up or we could let it down and just kind of figure out what's going to be the best long-term solution with our temporary little trial and error thing here.
I said this on my last visit. I just laugh at modern society, how they just view farming and ranching as just dumb people.
Right.
And clearly not at all. And
well, yeah, it's a very niche skill set that most people are not worried about the plastic elevation on your building when you're growing broilers, and I'm sure there's things that they're experts at that I would never think about.
But it just shows that just the ingenuity and determination of just trying to figure it all out. That's just why I like farmers and ranchers so much, because I noticed that across the board. And so that's why I just had to add that, because
we're usually an inquisitive and innovating bunch. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times you kind of have to be.
Well, yes, you do have to innovate or die, I think is the saying. Because the production of the animals you're raising or the crops, that is your income.
Yeah.
And it's something I will occasionally tell the staff is like, look, you guys get paid every week, regardless of what happens in the field. If we lose a whole set of birds or something happens to some pigs, I'm the one who doesn't get paid. So I'm the most incentivized to innovate designs that are going to work and actually accomplish what we need them to do.
Absolutely.